Hey guys, so today's video is going to be a recap slash review of the very famous 1958, or rather infamous 1958 film Attack of the 50-Foot Woman. Now, also apologies if the voices outside are carrying. I don't quite know what's happening next door, but I don't know, I guess they're working on something out there, so apologies if you can hear some voices outside. So as well as doing my makeup while I do a recap of this movie, I thought I would also chuck in a quick review of the latest Chikuhodo slash Beautylish collaboration. This is the brush set that came out recently. So if any of you are interested in that, that'll be at the end of, at the end of this video. Even though this movie is only an hour and 10 minutes long, there is quite a bit that happens, so I'm just gonna go ahead and get started. I did start with my base makeup and brows, so I was a little bit worried that I'd get to the end of the movie and still have heaps of makeup that needs to be done. So the movie starts with kind of like a news bulletin or a news flash. And the host states that there have been multiple reports throughout the world regarding all these different people in different countries stating that they've seen a mysterious glowing red orb or sphere. He lists the countries where these sightings have been seen and also the direction that the witnesses said the ball was heading in. And he gets out a world globe and he works out that according to the trajectory, it should be in the California desert within a matter of hours. Next it cuts to the main character, Nancy. Nancy is this wealthy heiress, beautiful, with this gorgeous, like, huge diamond necklace on with a singular, like, teardrop-shaped diamond in the center. She's driving along Route 66 and she sees a mysterious glowing orb. It's huge. It's and then it lands in front of her. She starts screaming. This mysterious giant hand emerges from the orb and tries to grab her necklace. She tries to start up the engine in her car again. It doesn't start. So she takes off and flees on foot, like back into town. Meanwhile, her husband, Harry, also known in the town as Handsome Harry, is actually very openly, I might add, very publicly cozying up with another woman. I just like how everyone in town calls him Handsome Harry. It's like, yeah, that's the type of man you want to marry, someone with that sort of nickname. Like, he's definitely not going to cheat on you. So he's with his, his side piece, I guess, named Honey. What's interesting is that Honey appears to be a gold digger, but we find out later that Harry is like the biggest gold digger. Like, he clearly only married Nancy for her money. And it's like they're discussing ways how he can leave Nancy but still end up with all the money. And they're sort of talking about how she was institutionalized a while back for some mental health issues. So she was at a psychiatric hospital for a while. And they're talking about figuring out a way how they can basically make her go back there, have her committed again, but do it in a way so that they can basically convince the doctors that she's just mentally unstable and just has to be there for the rest of her life. And that way, I guess he ends up with all the money somehow. I mean, and he would end up the money and not her family. I don't know. This is a very camp movie. It's only an hour and 10 minutes long. It's about a 50-foot woman who wreaks havoc on a town. So I don't think we need to think too much about this, the logistics of this whole story. So Nancy arrives in town in the state, as you can imagine. She just witnessed an alien, an alien that tried to grab her and tried to grab her necklace, no doubt. So she runs into the sheriff and deputy, and she tells them what happened. She's frantic. She's like, I saw a satellite. I saw this alien come out. He was trying to grab my necklace, and of course, like, nobody believes her, but the sheriff and the deputy, they do their job and they take her out so they drive her back down Route 66 so she can go and collect her car, which interestingly enough just starts working again as soon as she starts the engine. So I don't know why it didn't work when she tried to escape the alien, but anyway, before she takes off in the car, they do like look around everything. The sheriff says to her, like, is it possible that some ruffians were trying to like grab your necklace, because it's a pretty expensive looking thing? Like, it probably wasn't an alien, maybe you just got confused. And then she's like, no, he was 30 feet tall and he tried to grab at my necklace, and there was a spaceship here and everything. Again, sheriff and deputy don't believe her. So she hops into her car and drives home. So she drives home. She's greeted by the butler Jess and sees that her husband Harry is also home. And we learn very quickly that Harry is just the biggest gaslighting piece of shit ever. She doesn't bring up the spaceship straight away, but she gets into an argument with him. She knows all about this affair he's having, and he just like straight out denies. Yeah, so he's probably been gaslighting her all this time, and then that's probably why she was institutionalized previously, because he's like a gaslighting bastard who just manipulates her into believing what he wants to believe. And sure enough, through this conversation, she ends up being the apologetic one, even though she's done absolutely nothing wrong. And then she says to him, look, you're going to think I'm crazy, but just hear me out. I was out driving and I saw like this alien, this spacecraft. And then he just calmly takes her upstairs, puts her to bed, and he says just get some rest, you're tired, blah, blah, blah. And then, but in his mind, he's thinking, oh, great, she's nuts. I can have her institutionalized again. She won't get out this time because she's seeing spaceships. After Harry puts Nancy to bed, he goes and sees Honey and says, oh, she's seeing spaceships. She's crazy. It's not going to be any trouble at all to get her institutionalized again. And he also says, oh, you'll get that big fancy diamond necklace that she wears all the time too. So then Harry gets a doctor's opinion on Nancy. The doctor says, oh, you shouldn't have her institutionalized again. It wouldn't be good for her health. She should just stay here and just, receive care from home. Nancy is frustrated that no one believes her. So I think more in an effort to just prove that she is crazy, Harry agrees to take Nancy back down Route 66 to the desert to where she saw the aircraft in the first place. Harry also takes I can't remember if I said the butler's name. The butler's name is Jess. He also takes Jess's handgun, which is weird. If you're just driving along to see any evidence of this spacecraft, why are you taking his gun? So I thought that was a bit sinister, because I'm like, oh, is he actually going out there with her? Is he actually planning to kill her while he's out there? Anyway, so they're driving around for a bit. They don't see anything to begin with, but then they do see the aircraft, and they pull over the car. Nancy gets out and she says, I knew it. I knew I wasn't crazy. This is it. And Harry can obviously see it as well. And she walks up to it and she touches it, and that alerts the alien inside, the giant 30-foot man or giant that she saw earlier. And so he comes out and he grabs her. Harry tries shooting at the alien, but bullets don't do anything on this guy. And so after the alien grabs Nancy, he takes off back to the car. He drops the gun, takes off back to the car, and he just leaves her there. he drives home, and Jess is like, what the hell, man? Where's Nancy? Also, I've noticed that my gun is missing. What did you do to her? What did you do to her? And he just refuses to say anything. They get into this brawl, and then Harry takes off. Jess calls the police as he's worried that something awful has happened to Nancy. Harry takes off to go and see Honey, and they're packing suitcases because they're going to make a run for it. But before they can, the deputy arrives at the hotel room and is like, yeah, Jess called the cops, so you're going to have to come down to the station. We're going to have to ask you a few questions. So while they're all at the station, a phone call comes through, and it's the sheriff. The deputy answers. The sheriff says that they found Nancy, and she was on the roof of the pool house, which was they have no idea how she got up there. And she was unconscious. They get all these doctors and nurses in to examine her, and just with her state, she was unconscious, and they thought maybe it'd be a good idea to keep her sedated for a little while, just to, I don't know, in case she was in an unstable state. I'm not 100% sure why. Again, it's not the type of movie to think too deeply about these things. Also, they realize her necklace is missing, so the cops are questioning Harry, saying, what did you do out there? Jess says that his gun's missing, and also Nancy has been found with her diamond necklace missing. You got something to do with it, buddy. And then he's trying to, again, he even gaslights the police. He doesn't just gaslight Nancy, he does the same thing to police. He just says, oh no, that's not true, Jess is lying, blah, blah, blah. I never took his gun. I never saw Nancy. I was, and then Honey corroborates his story and say oh yeah, he was with me all night. So then the cops say, well, there's not much we can do until Nancy wakes up and she's of sound mind to, tell her side of the story. So all the sheriff says to him is don't leave town. So he and Honey end up having a private conversation, and she encourages him to give Nancy an overdose of the sedatives that they gave her, because she overheard the doctor telling the nurse that giving someone too much in one go is lethal. So, and that's what he decides to do, because again, he's a scumbag and he just wants money. And so does Honey. They're both scumbags. That's exactly what he does. So he goes back into the house very late at night. The nurse is fast asleep. He goes to the counter where they have all the medication. He fills a syringe with a large volume of the sedative. He sneaks upstairs to the bedroom. He turns on the light, and before he can administer the injection, he sees that Nancy has grown to 50 feet tall and yet somehow comfortably fits inside the bedroom. We just see a giant paper mache hand. And yeah, so the nurse wakes up, she runs into the room, she screams. Apparently the doctor and the psychiatrist, they were all there, they were spending the night. And they're all like, obviously, they're like, how did she grow to 50 feet like overnight? And yeah, they decide to keep her sedated until they can figure out A, what caused this, and B, how to get her back to normal. Okay, so my eyeline's a bit uneven, but that's okay. I'm just gonna fix it with a clean angled brush with just a little bit of makeup remover on it. Okay, now where were we? Okay, so during this horrific discovery, the sheriff, deputy, and the butler, Jess, they are investigating the pool house. They're looking around, they're just seeing, how did she get up there? Like, what's the situation? What's interesting is that when they found her at the pool house, I don't know how they didn't see the giant footprints leading up to it, but I suppose it was the middle of the night. So fair enough, I suppose. So yeah, they see the giant footsteps. The sheriff and Jess, they decide to follow them in the sheriff's car. Okay, they follow the footsteps, and sure enough, they come across the aircraft. And I mean, these guys are a lot braver than I am. Like, they go on board. They figure out how to climb on board the spacecraft. They're walking through. They see a bunch of other diamonds, very, very similar to the diamond necklace that Nancy has. And they're all like suspended in these glass fish bowls. Anyway, they're wandering around, and because at first I'm like, what the hell is this like alien doing with all these diamonds? Like, diamonds form currency on his planet. Again, I'm thinking so much into a movie that makes no sense whatsoever. Anyway, like, what the sheriff just says, they must power this spacecraft because I don't know, he's got a degree in science or something. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, shock horror, the alien is on board and he sees them and he chases them off the spacecraft. The sheriff tries shooting at him, it doesn't work. He then chucks a grenade at the alien, and that does do something to him. I guess explosive things have an effect on this creature. The alien, he lifts up the police car and smashes it. So it's the second time this movie where something's happened to someone's car and they've had to make their way back to civilization on foot. Okay, I just put my mascara on. I think I'll wait for the mascara to dry properly before I put my lashes on. So I'll go ahead and do the rest of my face. I think I just transferred some mascara as well. I'll have to fix that. Okay, we are getting close to the end of this movie. It's interesting how it's called Attack of the 50-Foot Woman, but Nancy doesn't actually become 50 feet tall until like the last 20 minutes of the movie. So while the sheriff and Jess are making their way back to town, we go back to Nancy's house. Nancy wakes up. The sedatives eventually wear off, even though they ordered a ton of them. She wakes up. She stands up in the bedroom on the top floor of the house, which causes the roof to break. Because she's a giant, she has this deep, booming voice, and she says, "I know where my husband is. He's with that woman."
I know where my husband is. He's with that woman.
I just love how she becomes she becomes 50 feet tall, and the only thing she cares about is like catching her husband cheating. She makes her way towards town. The deputy is driving along Route 66 and he runs into the sheriff and Jess. He then drives them back over to Nancy's place. The nurse and the doctor, the psychiatrist, they tell the three of them that Nancy has woken up and she is currently on her way to wreak havoc and go on a rampage in the nearby town. The first time I watched this movie, I just sort of like briefly glanced at what Nancy was wearing, and for a moment my initial thought was that they were her like undergarments, but I think because she grew so big, she obviously outgrew her clothes. So I don't know if it's meant to be more like bed sheets that have been fashioned into a two-piece set. I feel like it looks more like bed sheets, and that would be more believable, I guess, than, I don't know, like as in not your clothes also getting 50 feet big, but you know, and I guess that makes more sense, because I mean, in situations like this, the person will grow to 50 feet, but their clothes also won't change size. Okay, I'm going to do my lipstick now because we're getting very close to the end of the movie and I can't talk and do my lips at the same time. Okay, I'm really hoping the uneven application of both the lip liner and the liquid lipstick isn't appearing on camera. It's been a long time since I've done a red lip, so yeah. And we are back. So I finished my lipstick and I put some lashes on. Now let's get to the final part of the movie. Okay, so Nancy's going around, she's gone to the hotel where Honey's been staying at. She realized they're not there. She then goes to the bar that they frequent. She rips the roof off of the bar, and in doing so, the debris that falls from, you know, the rafters and the bricks and the slates and just stuff from the roof that falls and crushes Honey. Harry grabs the deputy's gun, tries to shoot at Nancy, doesn't work. Nancy grabs Harry, lifts him up and just starts taking off, like holding him. The sheriff gets out his shotgun, he starts shooting at her again. Bullets don't work on, they don't work on the alien, they don't work on a 50-foot woman. She's walking along, she walks close to, like, I guess like a power station, like where all the electrical wires join, like one of those giant, I'll insert a clip. And the sheriff fires at that and the bullet causes it to explode. And the explosion knocks Nancy to the ground. And during the fall, Harry actually dies as well. So Nancy dies, Harry dies, and that's the movie. I think the psychiatrist says something along the lines of, she finally got what she wanted, Harry all to herself. And then the movie just ends. So there you go. What I will say is, like, I mean, I loved this movie. It's camp, it's ridiculous, but from what I gather, because this is probably the first, I guess, like camp sort of, well, not the first. I have, you can't really see it in my camera. Maybe I'll like pan out, but I've actually got a movie poster just behind me of the original House on Haunted Hill with Vincent Price. It's one of my favorite Vincent Price movies. From what I saw, like because I mean, also in the 50s you had The Blob as well. I think that might be the next movie I might watch. And from what I gather, it was really interesting, like hearing some people who, like online, talking about remembering when these movies came out when they were young, and they were saying that it feels like every other week there would be this camp horror movie that would come out, and would just like, because I think drive-ins were really popular back then. A lot of like high school kids would just like drive to the drive-in together and watch these movies, and I think yeah, no, I think that's great that every different week there was like this ridiculous horror movie. There was The Blob. I think there's The Creature from the Blue Lagoon, or is it The Black Lagoon? I'm actually, I should probably double check the title of that movie, but I really want to watch that one as well. I just love these sort of horror films. Yeah, but for all those online reviews who give this movie 1 star and everything, that's not the point of this movie. This movie is camp. It is ridiculous. It's about a 50-foot woman who wreaks havoc on a town. Why are you giving it 1 star? Did you go in expecting an extremely compelling story? No, of course not. It's yeah. Anyway, so I said at the start of the video I was going to do a review on the Chikuhodo / Beautylish collaboration. So these are the brushes here. They come in this beautiful box like this. There's actually also a travel satchel as well. So this is what the travel case looks like. It's this very light metallic gold shade with Chikuhodo / Beautylish written here. You open it up and it's got 5 slots for the 5 brushes, so you can travel with them. It's really good quality case, really sturdy zip as well. I hate it when collections bring out packaging that goes along with it and the zip always breaks the first time you use it, but this is like really well made. What I like about this particular collaboration, I feel like Beautylish and Shikohodo release a collection most years. I think just about every year. The last collection I bought was the red one. I mean, this is what the brush looks like with the floral design. What I like about this particular collection is that it's 2 face brushes and 3 eye brushes. I think that's probably why I've only ever bought 2 collaborations before, because in the past it's mainly been face brushes and I feel like I don't really need that many. But if you've never bought one of these collaborations before, I highly recommend this one. I mean, the brush design itself is just so beautiful with the floral, the gold, silver and pink flowers painted on. It just absolutely beautiful. So you've got a large powder brush. Now what I like to do when I set my makeup, or set my concealer I should say, and foundation, I like to set my concealer with a brush like this. This brush works amazingly well at setting concealer. I used to use my Real Techniques setting brush to set my under eye concealer. I'm not going back to that. I used that for years and I just feel like in recent times it hasn't really been setting my concealer very well, so I started using this, and this is just amazing. Flawless finish on your under eye concealer. To set the rest of my face, I like to apply my powder with a powder puff, and then I'll take a big fluffy brush like this to knock the excess powder off. This, I mean, I feel like most brushes probably do that, but this one is just amazingly beautiful and soft and actually just feels really nice on your skin. So I don't think it works any differently to any other powder brush, but in terms of just how it feels against the skin, it feels the nicest out of all the powder brushes I own. So you've got 3 eye brushes as well. You've got a flat shading brush, a blending brush, and a really long sort of tapered brush. You probably noticed before I use this to actually go under my eye. I've also used this to do a nose contour as well. It works really well for that. Sometimes when I apply this below my lower lash line, if it looks a little bit too harsh, I just take the blending brush and smudge it out a bit. But because previously I would take product on my blending brush and apply it along my lower lash line, but I found like that was too much product. So to do it in a more defined tapered brush, and then you can use this to buff it out, you get that good color payoff without it looking like you've applied too much eyeshadow, which is great. So yeah, this is my review of the brushes. Now, it is expensive. I'll put the cost here because I can't quite remember what it was. Also, Beautylish loves to surprise you as soon as you get to checkout and adds the tax afterwards. Being in Australia, we add GST tax to our products. You know what you're paying for by the time you get to the checkout. So that's sort of an unpleasant surprise when you're checking out on a website like Beautylish. Also, a side note, it came ridiculously quickly. I ordered them on, it was Wednesday the 15th, I believe, of March. It arrived Friday the 17th. Not even 72 hours had passed between me placing my order and me receiving my brushes. They just arrived amazingly quickly. The weekend they arrived, I was planning on doing a first impressions, but I'm actually glad I waited a little bit longer and actually tested them out. So this isn't so much a first impressions as it is a review, because I have used them a few times since then. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching this video. I really hope I don't have lipstick on my teeth, but if I do, it is what it is. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave any movie recommendations, what you'd like me to watch next. And yeah, I'll be seeing you all in my next video. Bye.